world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players.
They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
Performers like Alice and Harry don't have a choice as to what actions they take. They must follow what the playwright has written. But if we, and that's you and me, want to control our lives, then we must write our own actions. Our past has already been written, but our future is a blank piece of paper waiting for us to fill it in. Of course, if we choose not to fill it in, then the writing gets done by other people. We give up responsibility and control. We wait for things to happen rather than making them happen. In short, we become a victim. But if Harry or we decide to fill in the blank page, we can't just sit down and write. We have to do several things before taking action. First, we have to see or sense what must be done.
I need to close that deal, write my report, and fill out my expense voucher.
Then we need to question. And the question we ask is, what if?
What if I don't call Jack? What if I do write those reports? What if I don't set those calls up for next week?
Then we go on to step 3. We reason. We analyze the what-if question to see how the story might turn out if we took one of several alternative actions. Remember, we still have that blank page. We haven't written what action we're going to take yet. Only after we've reasoned can we act by writing in the actions we're going to take. Now we're in control of our lives. But we don't live our lives in a vacuum. When we choose to fill in the page or to leave it blank, we're making a decision that can affect many other lives, not just our own. But we'll return to Harry in a bit. Meanwhile, I'd like to take you to another building. Maybe there you'll get an idea of the importance of seeing, questioning, reasoning, and acting, and how this process can affect so many lives. This building has a story to tell. Unfortunately, the story and the people in it were real. Let me set the scene for you. But as I do, ask yourself, who could have changed the outcome? Who could have filled in the blank page differently? Who could have seen, questioned what if, reasoned, and then acted to change the tragic climax? The building is a school in the USA. This is the model of the school, which caught fire one December day.
Our school had 3 buildings: the auditorium, the house where some of the staff and the housekeeper lived, and the school itself. It was a U-shaped 2-story brick building with a basement. This was known as the North Wing. It was built in 1910, but was converted to a school in 1949. On the top floor of the South Wing was the principal's office. This was the annex, and at the back of the annex was a steel fire escape leading from the top story to the ground. Here, at the front, was an iron picket fence which was about 8 feet high and had an access gate which was always kept locked.
Since most of our story focuses on the top floor of the North Wing, let's take a closer look at it.
The top floor was divided into 6 classrooms. A pair of doors separated the corridor from the front staircase. On that December day, these doors were open, wedged open. There was no door separating the corridor from the rear staircase on the top level. However, on the ground floor, there was a fire-stop steel door. On that day, this door was closed.
Many of the teachers in the North Wing had complained of noise from the other classrooms. So the school had installed acoustic tiles in both the classrooms and the corridors. These acoustic tiles had a cellulose base and were highly flammable. There was a lot of wood in the building. And finally, there was a fire alarm in the North Wing. It was manually operated, situated about 2 meters, that's 6 feet above the floor, and it used 2 ordinary electric light switches, both of them unmarked. That's the setting. So far, what might you have seen, questioned, reasoned, and acted to change? And what would you have done? But what did happen on that December afternoon?
At 2 o'clock, the 329 students in the 6 classrooms on the top floor of the North Wing were just starting their last hour's work. At about 2:10, a fire started at the bottom of the rear stairs in the basement. The fire burned undetected for 15 minutes. At about 2:25, the maintenance man, who had been working a block away, passed by the school and saw smoke coming from a ground floor window. He went to investigate and discovered the fire. Rather than sounding the alarm, he ran to the staff house and told the housekeeper to call the fire department. It was now around 2:27. The fire department did not receive the call until 2:42, 17 minutes after the fire was discovered. At 2:30, 2 children left room 206 in the annex carrying a waste paper basket down to the incinerator in the basement. They went through the door to the North Wing, and as they approached the staircase, they smelled smoke and heard a loud crackling noise. They ran by the alarm and back to their classroom and told their teacher what they had seen. The teacher went next door to ask the teacher in room 207 what should be done. That teacher left her class and went down the corridor to the south wing in search of the principal. The principal was not in her room, having had to substitute teach that afternoon. The teacher ran back to her classroom, and the 2 teachers decided to evacuate their classes by the back fire escape. When all of the students were safely in the auditorium, one of the teachers returned to the school and sounded the alarm. It was now 2:42.
That's 12 minutes after the children had seen the fire. Let's spin the clock back and see what had happened to that fire. It had burned undiscovered until the intense heat had broken a window at ground level. This allowed the smoke to billow outside the building. It was this smoke that the maintenance man had seen. The fire tried to enter the ground floor but was kept out by the closed steel door. So the fire raced up the rear staircase, and since at the top there was no door to stop it, the flames roared along the ceiling of the corridor, devouring the acoustic tiles and bursting into the classrooms. Finding the smoke-stop doors at the end of the corridor wedged open, the fire and smoke quickly filled the front staircase, making exit that way impossible.
When the fire crews arrived, a major obstacle was the high picket fence. No one could find a key to the locked gate, so they tore the fence down. Now the crews could start rescuing those trapped and battle the fire. Meanwhile, ladders were put up to every window on the top story. Firefighters raced up them and to save precious time, started dropping those trapped to colleagues below, who caught them or broke their fall. At 2:55, the roof of the north wing fell in onto the classrooms.
Now, when the roof falls in on a burning building, it's kind of like the piston of a motor car engine. It displaces all the hot gases with explosive force. Now, the effect of this explosion was to blow the fire crews who were fighting the fire at the front and rear down the staircase. It also ended the chance for survival of anyone left in the classroom. Now, the tragedy was complete. During that last critical hour, some people saw and acted. But did they think? Did they reason first so that they could take the best possible action? The maintenance man, he saw the smoke and then ran to tell the housekeeper to call the fire department. He never sounded the fire alarm. The housekeeper, who for whatever reason delayed her call to the fire department by 17 minutes. 2 children discovered the fire and ran to tell their teacher rather than sounding the alarm or simply yelling, "Fire!" The teacher from 207 went looking for the principal. Then took time to evacuate the classes of 206 and 207 before sounding the alarm. That is the story. A true story. A tragedy. Did it have to happen? See, this isn't just a story about a school and a fire. It's a story about human attitudes. Whether we choose to control our lives by filling in that page or to leave it blank and become a victim. Take a few minutes to discuss this story and how its lessons might apply to your organizations. See, what do you see and question and reason needs your attention? What actions would you write on your blank page? And what might prevent you from taking action? How does this process we've been talking about of seeing, questioning, reasoning, and acting work in another setting, and what can destroy it? To find out, let's return to Harry, who's now playing the role of an accountant for a small business.
I can't believe how much collections have slowed. Alice, this is Harry. Did we only deposit $1,000 last week? Okay, thank you. That's what I expected.
Harry has taken the first step. He's seen something which might require action. Now comes step 2, questioning what if.
I don't like the look of this. What if collections don't pick up next week?
What if? That doesn't seem like a difficult question to ask, does it? Yet how many of the 200 people that passed through those wedged open, smoke-stopped doors on that December day asked, what if? If anyone did ask that question and didn't shut the doors, then something must have gone wrong at step 3, reasoning. Reasoning is the most critical step in the whole process. Because you still have that blank page in front of you. How well you reason is going to determine how productive your actions will be. Let's see how well Harry is reasoning.
Let's see. Receivables stand at 40,000. That means that we should get some large checks in later this week. But if we don't, we're going to have to find some money somewhere else to make the payroll.
Now Harry's ready to fill in that blank page with actions, if he chooses to.
Oh, Mrs. Delafield.
Yes, Harry.
Thank you for stopping by the office. Please sit down.
Yes, Harry, you wanted to speak with me for a few minutes?
Yes. There's been a slowdown in cash flow. Now, we're expecting some rather large checks next week, but to be on the safe side, I suggest we contact the banker to see about negotiating for a new line of credit.
I appreciate you letting me know about this. I am running late for my board meeting, but I'll call the bank as soon as I'm done.
All right, Miss Delafield.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, it looks as though Harry's chosen to fill in that blank page. He's reasoned and taken action. But if Harry decides he wants to leave his page blank, how could he justify doing nothing? Simple. He would come up with something I call cop-out reasoning. Reasoning which no longer requires us to act.
Hey, I don't own the company, so why should I worry about cash flow? Besides, the problem will work itself out. It always has done in the past.
Cop-out reasoning. That one thing which can destroy the process we've been talking about. We hear it every day. And we've all used it to convince ourselves that we didn't need to act. That it's okay to leave our page blank. Cop-out reasoning has a tremendous impact on our lives. Can you imagine what the world would be like today if some of these famous people had used cop-out reasoning?
Hey, fettuccine,
Why should I, Christopher Columbus, question the greatest minds in the world? They all say the Earth is flat, so it must be flat. Besides, think of all the hassle I'd have to go through to prove them wrong. I'd have to find 3 ships, 400 men, and 5 truckloads of dynamite. Then I'd spend 2 years without any spaghetti. And if I did, then prove them wrong, they might still not believe me. No, I can do much better just staying right here.
Isn't that the great Isaac Newton?
There we were, Fred and I, snoozing at the foot of this apple tree. We'd just polished off a bottle of the finest beef eaters and needed a rest. Suddenly, this apple tries to assassinate me. Fred said, "Newty," all my close friends call me Newty, "what do you think about that apple hitting you on the head?" Naturally, I replied, "Fred, there's a time for thinking and a time for relaxing, so don't ask me to think while I'm relaxing. And besides, I'm sure someone else has given the phenomenon some thought. Actually, it was a very nice apple."
Help! There's a leak in the dike!
Save us, Peter! Save us!
They wanted me to put my finger in that dike. Are they crazy? I'm not paid to go around sticking fingers in dikes. Besides, there are lots of people with much bigger fingers than mine. Let them do it if they care so much about their dikes.
Help! Run for your life!
Now look here. When I signed up for this position, there wasn't anything in the job description about having to spend the winter freezing at Valley Forge or standing up in a boat to cross the Delaware. Those were just some of those little surprises that showed up. I don't like surprises. So I told them they could keep the job. Me, I'm heading for Miami Beach.
Cop-out reasoning is easy to do if we're looking for an excuse to do nothing. It sounds silly in the context of history, but how about today? What do we say when we've used cop-out reasoning?
It's not my problem.
It's not in my job description.
I've got seniority. I shouldn't have to do it.
She gets paid to think. Me, I just do what I'm told.
It will never happen.
Oh, I'll do it later.
I don't have the time. I've got other things to do.
Well, I didn't make it that way. Why should I change it?
Cop-out reasoning. So easy to see in others, so hard to see in ourselves. But we can't stop using it if we don't see it in ourselves first. And then we can only avoid it if we choose to fill in that blank page. Commit ourselves to the hardest part of the four-step process, to act. Let's go back to our historical friends as they discover for themselves that they've been using cop-out reasoning.
Wait a minute. Why shouldn't I question the greatest minds in the world? Who's to say that they are right? If I'm right, it could change the entire world. That seems worth the risk. Besides, if I just sit around here eating pasta, I'll blow up like Vesuvius. Did I, Sir Isaac Newton, really just pass up an opportunity to solve a problem? Problems don't surface just when you want them to. You've got to work on them when they appear, not put them off. Now, why did this apple fall on this head?
Run, everyone, run! It's about to go!
There may be people with bigger fingers who are paid more, but I'm here now, and the dike is breaking now, so I'd better do something now. I guess job descriptions can't be that perfect. But if you take on the responsibility, you have to take what comes. I'd still much rather be in Miami Beach, but I've got a job to do right here.
Cop-out reasoning. It's so hard to avoid because it's so easy to use. Perhaps the caretaker in that school may have used it when he chose not to sound the fire alarm. Maybe he reasoned, someone else will do it. Well, someone else did. 17 minutes later. Now all anyone can say is, if only I had. If only I had. How many people said that on that bleak December day? Doesn't it strike you that if only one person had seen, questioned, reasoned, and acted on this day or years before, this tragedy might never have happened? Would you have been that one person who could have changed the outcome if you'd been there? Would you have questioned the cellulose tiles, the unmarked alarm, or the locked fence? Would you have acted by closing the smoke-stop doors, pulling the alarm, or calling the fire department? Would you have filled in your blank page and taken action? Or would you have left it blank and been one of the passive victims saying, if only I had? That's a choice which faces all of us every day. To reason and act, or to cop out and do nothing. Which will you choose?